Derek Barton along with you on Talk Rodeo. And on today's show, we're going to catch up with the future of the Powder River Rodeo Company. Of course, we're talking about John Franzen. And, you know, John, the history of Powder River Rodeo Company runs very deep, and we're going to talk about some of that history. But the one big story, and we're not going to indulge on it too much, is the fact that loss of your great bucking horse, Craig, at midnight. Let's talk about the history of that horse and give us a little backstory on that horse.
He was just he's a special animal. It was a heartbreaking loss, but he was a horse that, I guess, from day one, he was big and kind of a real pretty dapple gray, and the first time we bucked him over there at Belfouche, we couldn't get him loaded, and I was kind of upset. I thought I really wanted to see what he was like, and heck, he blew through 2 panels, and it was a typical deal. I needed to get him loaded for the perf, but the perf was happening, and we weren't getting him loaded, so we just let him go. And then the second time we bucked him, he bucked a kid over the front of him and stepped on his leg, so he broke his leg, and it was just his first few trips were one of those deals where it was just kind of something happened every time. And then we finally got him to Estes Park, and Heath Ford draws him, and he was kind of a big marshmallow at the time. He didn't have the power like he did, and Heath was 84 or 5, and ended up winning the rodeo on him. And that night, we didn't even have a name for him, but his brother's name was Midnight Run, and we were talking about it. Well, Craig Rowe, that works for us, he gets up, you know, and we'd been drinking and talking about how great this horse was. And when Craig got up to get another beer, he damn near took the whole tent with him. And we were joking about it. Boy, we need to call that horse something. We need to name him after Craig. And I said, yeah, Craig at Midnight. And it just kind of stuck. And that was a cool deal for Craig. He's been with me for almost 12 or 13 years now, I think. And my absolute best friend. We the story of the horse, and then to know Craig himself, and then how attached Craig was to that horse, and to see him go on and win the world, and Craig wears buckle. The horse was special, but it runs a lot deeper in everybody. If you know the guy, and you know the horse, and you know the story, success stories are the best to hear, because, you know, that horse wasn't supposed to be what he was. You know, he was 1,700 pounds. He's not supposed to be able to buck and jump and do the things that he was able to do, and the character that he had. And then, you know, to be named after our main man as well, it's a cool story for sure.
Well, we're talking with John Franzen, Powder River Rodeo Company, here on the Talk Rodeo Hotline. And, you know, Craig at Midnight, I remember when he first came out, he was a handful. He was not real friendly in the chute. And then to find a chute big enough sometimes to accommodate him, there was times where we were wondering if he'd even fit in there.
Yeah, he always wanted to crawl out. And of course, that was a big deal about him. We'd get him in the chute, and then, you know, that's what everybody wanted to see. You know, what's he going to do? Is he going to crawl out? Is he going to paw somebody down or whatever? And his character in the pasture was really docile. You know, he wasn't fire-breathing dragon by any means, but as soon as you got him in there, he was kind of almost claustrophobic. He just didn't like people being around him, so we had to work through some issues, but he never tried to get a guy. Like, he wasn't trying to hurt anybody ever, but he just wanted out. He didn't want to be. And of course, when he got older, it changed a lot. But he's a handful. And that also the same deal went with, you know, when Craig at Midnight was out. You know, I talk about when I'm going to start my A-team list to go to the biggest rodeos. You know, he was the first number on the list. When Craig went, you knew that the juice is here. Like, you didn't have Craig at Midnight and then a bunch of colts. You know, if Craig was on the trailer, the very best, I mean, his running mates, and he was a king, you know. He was the first horse that I was a part of. You know, Dad had Gaddafi and Miss Congeniality. And Miss Congeniality had little parts of it, and I got to flank her and stuff, and she was a big part of my first part of the career. But Craig was a horse that, I mean, I was with him every step of the way, and so was everybody else. But he was the first horse that put myself on the map as, you know, as a breeding program, and as a kid was able to move this horse along as my first world champion that I felt like I was a huge part of. So losing him was lost a part of my my first initial, me becoming a young stock contractor and trying to live on the legacy of my father. Craig was a part of that and probably the biggest stepstone for me to move on.
Well, we're talking with John Franzen with Powder River Rodeo Company. And, I've got one other question on Craig, because we know what a handful he was when he first got started. Then all of a sudden he dials in. And I mean, it used to be people were saying, I don't want to draw that horse. Now everybody wanted to draw that horse. What was that point where you saw that turnaround? And then how proud were you to say, this one's going to be a champion?
Yeah, he was one of those horses that, just like you said at first, he was wiping people out. He was, and nobody wanted to get on him because they didn't think they could ride him. And then, we had some guys that started to ride him and not ride him very well and still win first. And that's where it really made the turnaround. Is you didn't have to knock it out of the park on Craig, because he was going to be marked a 22 to 24 point horse, and your score was already high. You just had to get along with him, not necessarily spur him. I honestly don't. Casey Fields did it once. Clayton Bigelow did it once. Stephen Peebles, that was a good ride. But I could probably count on one hand of people I remember that spurred Craig at Midnight, that had a good day. He had a good day, and they had a good day with him. But I bet they probably won 50 rodeos on him in his career, and I bet you only 5 of them guys actually spurred him. So that was what really made him the turn around. You drew Craig at Midnight in a short round. He had half the score. You just had to do your part, and the better cowboys want to have that. Test me, and I can win something.
Well, we're joined by John Franzen with Powder River Rodeo Company here on Talk Rodeo. Now let's talk about the legacy of Powder River Rodeo Company. Of course, I've known your mom and dad. They've run this program for a long time. Now you're coming in and, taking over some of the responsibilities and doing a lot more of it. But I also know you as a competitor. You're a calf roper, a steer wrestler, team roper, and everything. What is it about this program that is just so effective? Not just family. I know that's part of it. But this is a program that when you're involved in it, and I know it with your staff too, they just want to be a part of this program and see what Powder River Rodeo Company can put together.
You said it probably best. It's a family, and not necessarily a family as we do it all together. When you're a part of this, you become family as you eat with us, you sleep with us, you party with us, and what we do is nobody does anything without everybody else. Everybody has their job, but we're all working towards collective goal. And, if you're a bullfighter, if you're a pickup man, if you're the flag carrier, to the guy that does the water tanks, he's just as important in our company as me or my father or anybody. And the one way that my dad and my mom have instilled in our program is you don't tell somebody to do something, you do it with them, and you lead by example. And I think that's what is important for our company, because our tire man, he shows up. Dana Clark, he shows up. He feels like a part of it, and he is. If you ain't got wheels on your trucks, you know what I mean? Like it's everybody, and it takes every person. My brother-in-law at home, he's taking care of stuff when I'm not there, or my sister or whoever it is. It takes all of us, and we have a very small crew. Like I said, it's me, Hank, Lori, Craig, and that's our crew. And and we always have a few other guys, but you're always a part of it. You're just as much a part of it as we are, because we need every one of you. And when you do that in a company, they feel a part of it and their end goal. So when we win, contract rodeo of the year, our committees are a part of our family. You're a part of our family, because without you guys talking about the horses or playing the better music to keep our crowds entertained, they're not as good. So it takes every single one of us, and we make sure that everybody knows that. We pay people well. We want them to be able to, do well in their careers. And if they're paid well, they do a better job. Right. And that's what's been important for our company, because when we come to a rodeo, our family's going to put in every ounce of effort to make each rodeo the best it can be. And I think if you miss that part of it, you miss a lot of what it's all about. When rodeo's over with, when I'm dead and gone, it's going to be the stories that we had and the people that we worked with. And it's not just a job to me. Bucking my colts and raising colts and watching a young 4-year-old have his trip at Thermopolis and Rock Springs and Riverton is way more, or probably more important than Craig at Midnight bucking at Caldwell, because he is what he is. Right. But the future's what's important, and that's what's really important to my folks and I.
John Franzen, our guest here on Talk Rodeo. Now we're going to go to something that you and I talked about a little bit earlier, is the fact that, of course, we knew with COVID and everything, we got moved out of Las Vegas last year, went to Arlington, Texas, at Globe Life Field. We knew going in it wasn't going to be Las Vegas. That's a special place out there in the Thomas and Mack, and it's just a little bit more user-friendly than what Arlington was, because things were so spread out. But as far as the rodeo from a stock contractor's standpoint and that venue, give me your take on how you thought things went in Arlington.
We were just really excited that they had it. Everybody it was really hard on contractors last year. You got 450 head of horses and 700 bulls, and we're no grass. It's just one of those deals. It was a hard year, so we were glad that they had it. Obviously, for obvious reasons, Vegas was user friendly, and it's something that no other city can do. You can't have that many hotels in one spot, walking distance from the Thomas and Mack or from your arena. So for obvious reasons, Vegas is still going to be our home, and I think it should be. But thank you to Arlington as well for doing everything they could in 90 days or whatever it was to put on a rodeo. And not only that, but to show the world that we don't have to be in Vegas. If they don't want us there, we can go somewhere and put on a great rodeo. Contractor standpoint of view, our pens were about the same as they were, and they were on grass. Everything was fine there. Weather was good for us. That was handy. They had to mix the animals on trailers to get them to the building, which at Vegas, they trail them up, and they didn't have to use trucks and trailers. And that would probably have been the only thing that I didn't like about it. Just, if I've got my best horse, Miss Valley, and she gets in with a horse that they don't get along with, and she gets bit up the whole way to the building, which is only 3 or 4 blocks, but you're on there probably 30 minutes, which it takes 3 minutes for a horse to get crippled, or 2 seconds to get a horse crippled. So there was some horses that kind of got barked up a little bit. So I didn't like that part of it, but they did what they had to do, and our guys were really good. Kenny Behringer, he used to work for us, and good livestock man, and they did their best. So we were happy with the way it turned out, but there was a few things that obviously I like better about Vegas.
Well, John Franzen, our guest here on Talk Rodeo, and we'll wrap things up. But I got a question, because I've known you since your high school days, your freshman year. But the thing is, you were known as a competitor. Now, of course, you're in the stock contracted business, but you still compete. And even had a shot where you were looking up there for a while that you might make Las Vegas. Do you still have those aspirations, or now has the stock contracting really kind of taken over and you just enter some rodeos when you get a chance? And like you said, because they know you're there, guys are always wanting to trade with you. Do you still have those aspirations on the steer wrestling, or now is it leaning more towards the stock contracting?
Man, I'll always be a competitor. Anything I do, it's actually tough for me to even talk about, just because that was the only thing I didn't do is make Vegas. I won Rookie of the Year, and I won the college deal. And I did everything I wanted to do, but I didn't make Vegas. And I still probably would have tried. My dad got sick a couple of years ago, and made me kind of realize what was important to me. And I jumped in, and I felt like I took over a lot of what we do as far as our breeding program, and taking over a lot of the higher end stuff that my dad always used to take care of. And I did it because I wanted to. And now I fell in love with it. And it's just, to me, not only is it not fair to them for me to go and do that, I know my dad and my mom would probably love for me to go and just take off and do that. They want to see me in Vegas probably more than I do. But it's not as important to me anymore. I don't put the effort into it like I used to. You know, I used to practice all the time and keep my horses, and I mean, it was a full-time job. And now, you know, I'm up tonight in the steer wrestling. I probably won't even see what my steer is. Like, I'm worried about my colts being in what chute and making sure the rodeo starts on time and making sure that my crowd's happy and my committee's happy. Those are on my priority list. Bulldogging to me is fun, and I'm still a competitor. I still like to win. It's the best feeling in the world. But if I don't win, it's not detrimental to me like it used to be. You know, it used to eat me up.
Right.
And now I just go out and have fun. And if I win something, great. If not, I already got a paycheck while I was here, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm more worried about taking care of my family business. And you know, there's been a lot of businesses out there when they get passed down to the next generations, they fall apart. And I guess for me, what I'm trying to do is make it bigger and better and keep what my folks built from the ground up, keep it going in the right direction. It's tough. You know, your breeding program is everything you have. We don't buy any animals. Everything has our ownership brand on it from the time they're a colt to the time they leave. So we can roll into town with 2 straight loads and they all have the same brand and don't have any re-rides. Like that's what's important to me. And just thankful that my folks give me this opportunity.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks, if you have not seen a rodeo where Powder River Rodeo Company is involved in helping produce and everything, you definitely got to get it because they are a legacy, to me, Hall of Fame stock contractor. And they put on a great show, and they make sure that they do the true meaning of what rodeo is supposed to be. So, John, keep up the great work, and it's always fun to work with you guys and see what you guys are going to come up with next in those horses.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate it, and thanks for having me on. And, man, the horses and everything, it's we just want to keep showing people the roots of rodeo and what's important about having a quick performance, because we are in the entertainment business, and a lot of times you can go to a rodeo where it's 4 or 5 hours and people are like, I don't really care to do that again. And I want to run off a 2.5 hour show that's quick and modern day spectator wants to say, hey, I want to go watch that, and then I want to go do something else. So we pride ourselves in production for sure. So thank you for noticing that. And like I said, I hope anybody that's out there watching can come see us and see what we got going on. We're trying to keep ahead of the game far as specialty acts and everything. We want to show people something they haven't seen before, not just the same old, clown and barrel. Like, we want to make sure that people are seeing things that they've never seen before. So when they buy a ticket, they can say, I saw something really cool last night. It's something I've never seen before. So we're excited about that part of it. And I think that's where I need to come in, is make sure that the contestants are happy, because I was a contestant. I know what's important to them, parking, hospitality, trying to get them in and get them out to get them to the next rodeo. Those things all matter, but also what's in the stands. And when they leave here, the first perf is always the most important. I want them to go downtown to the coffee shop the next morning and say, I'm going back, and you should go too, and just keep building your rodeo. And I think that's probably what's most important.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're doing a great job of carrying on the legacy, and I appreciate the time.
Yep, thank you.